Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Chase.
And I'm Joby.
And that is the 2024 GMC 1500 Denali Ultimate, and this is the Overrun. Now, this GMC 1500 is setting out to answer the question of what if I want a BMW 7 Series, but also a truck? Well, here it is. At $87,100 and, hold on a minute, sorry, polarized sunglasses. $90, $87,190 is how this one sits, and that is because there's about $2,900 of options on this one. The first thing to note is the cool blue-gray paint, which is 500-ish bucks, and then the really big important one, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is GM's Super Cruise Level 3 autonomous driving software. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, Level 3 means that this is a true hands-free system. It means I can sit with my hands in my lap and the truck will do the driving for me. That means steering, braking, lane changes, the whole kibosh. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, what makes this a good luxury barge, and whether it's even a very good truck in today's video.
Now, before we get into anything else, let's take a look underneath the hood to see what is powering the Sierra 1500. Here we have a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, which produces 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, which of course is paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission and has lovely four-wheel drive. It also has a towing capacity of 8,900 pounds and a payload capacity of just over 1,700 pounds. So all in all, very standard figures for a truck in this segment, and it competes nicely with trucks like the F-150 or the Ram 1500.
So again, Joby and I have covered a lot of the GMC Sierra 1500, 2500 interior ad nauseum in our 2500 AT4X AEV edition video. If you'd like to watch that, we'll go ahead and leave a link in the description. Now, anyways, the highlights here are much like the back seats. There's a lot of very nice leather. Here you get some badging in addition to the topographic relief feature here. There's some nice piping and stitching, of course. These are also cooled, heated, and massaging seats. We talk about it a lot in our AEV edition video, but the interface for those is, frankly, terrible. There's also some nice wood here, and you get some coordinates of what I assume is Mount Denali. The split glove box is pretty nice. There's plenty of places to put all of your things. Now, the big difference here is that there's a little sensor array for Super Cruise on the wheel. This kind of lights up, which we'll demonstrate a little bit better when we drive the truck, and then this monitors where your eyes are so that you're being a responsible not driver. That's really all that there is to point out in here. There's just not a lot more. This infotainment system is identical to the one you'll find in the Chevy ZR2 and even the Colorado. It's a G-word based system. I don't want to say it for fear of the voice assistant kicking on, but you can go through the menus and they load reasonably quickly. I don't really have too many problems with them. The Android Auto and CarPlay is also wireless, which is very nice. And really, that's it. That's all you need to know. This is the same interior you'd find in a Chevy Colorado with a ton of leather in it, and it feels very nice, and most importantly, worth that $87,000 as specs price point. Okay, so let's talk bed capacity. This is a 69.9-inch bed. Nice. That's roughly on par, with the F-150 and the Ram 1500, with which this competes. Now, GMC does some stuff to differentiate their bed. For starters, it's an electronic tailgate release, and then you can do this little split folding thing like so, and then pull this out. Now, there's something cool in here that I'd like to show you first, and that is a Bluetooth speaker. So I can turn this on and play some copyrighted music that we'll get yelled at for. There's also a USB port and an aux port in case you're super old school and want to, I don't know, play some like FLAC files on your kicker Bluetooth speaker at a tailgate. But regardless, it turns into a step, and then you have a little handle here in case you need the help, and you can help yourself up into the tailgate. Now, this also comes with a spray and bed liner, which is pretty nice, and there's some pretty decent capacity in here. There's also some LED lighting, which is nice for when you need to load things at night, and really that's just about it. Now, ordinarily we would put in a competition segment. However, because of the way and the nuances that press fleet structure works in the world of automotive journalism, Jobe nor I has had the opportunity to drive anything that even remotely competes with this $87-ish thousand truck. We have driven comparable F-150s that are priced a little bit lower, so I guess they're not very comparable, and we've also driven Ram product very briefly that again was segmented much under this in terms of price. So with that in mind, we're going to try and evaluate this truck to the best of our ability, and then ideally later we're able to get some context by testing a really nice F-150 Platinum or a Ram 1500, whatever luxury barge trim that is. We're both shaking our heads, we don't know. So keep watching, thanks. We're driving. We're actually about to get on the highway because we're going to demonstrate Super Cruise for you. And I will hopefully show you what it's good at and what it is also not so good at, if I can get it to replicate. We'll see. As you'll come to see, it's kind of an intermittent thing. It works about 80, 85, 90% of the time, and then there are some things that it seems to be worse at than others. For example, merging, it's not so great at, but we're going to go ahead and set it up. So Super Cruise will do everything for you. That means that it will change lanes for you, it will steer for you, it will brake for you, it will make you coffee, it will do everything for you. So you just hit this little steering wheel button. Actually, it just told me that Super Cruise is unavailable because the lane is ending, so it does have a map of the highway. I'm gonna go ahead and set it. This is kind of the problem with it, is sometimes it just doesn't want to Super Cruise. So right now I was able to kick on the adaptive cruise control but not Super Cruise because it tells me that we're in an exit lane. However, we are in the middle lane of the highway. So every once in a while, yeah, Super Cruise unavailable, no road information. So while we wait, I guess let's go ahead and talk about how the rest of the driving experience is, which is largely inoffensive and very, very quiet. This doesn't have giant off-road tires, unlike like
everything else we've touched.
Every other truck we've tested for the last 3 months, which means that it rides very, very nicely. It's very quiet in here.
Super smooth also, very, very smooth.
It rides really smooth for a truck. I think the ride is probably one of the high points. It can feel, you said it felt just a tad stiff.
Yeah, I think it feels stiffer than like even the ZR2 and the definitely more stiff than the 2500. 2500 had the opposite problem where it felt so loose all the time.
Well, it also felt too stiff at times.
Yeah.
The important thing is that this doesn't have those multi-matic dampers, which we really did not like. The driving position is pretty solid. It's pretty much identical to any of the other GM product that you and I have driven. It feels like I'm driving a Colorado right now, and it feels like you're sitting in the passenger seat of one. It feels like the 2500.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, it feels exactly the same.
I have some little complaints. You know, like you can tell that there's a point at which some of the materials quality dips. It's right about my shin height is where we start to run out of leather. This is also cloth when the rest of the headliner is suede. It's really little stuff. I'm kind of nitpicking, which at $87,000 I feel like we should be entitled to do.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, $87,000 is that's a lot of money. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think overall, I mean, as a passenger in this, there's nothing in here that like super stands out that like is missing or that I wish was different. Yeah, the baseball like leather stitching is super cool. I think it kind of reminds me of that first gen Audi TT. They had that really weird. I was just gonna say that. They had that weird like baseball spec that you could get. The perforated leather is nice. All the different adjustments that you can make with the seat are super, super nice.
Aside from the massage thing.
Yeah, the massage is terrible, but like having heated and ventilated seats. Is it going?
Yes, we're Super Cruising.
Oh, and you can see the green bar at the top of the steering wheel.
So let's get into that now, not to completely and totally interrupt you. So I'm now hands and feet off, and the car will sit here and read my line of sight. Oh, it just got upset at me for taking my sunglasses off and kicked off.
Now it says it's unavailable.
Now
the lane is ending.
Unavailable lane ending and then kicked back on. So it doesn't like when you pass something in front of your face, which is something to kind of keep in mind. It's a little tricky to drink water in here unless you have a water bottle with a straw. Because if you interfere with that sensor, it's like, nope, sorry, dude, can't do that. Let's go ahead and try a lane change so that the people can see that. And then it's disengaging again. Super Cruise unavailable, no road information. I should point out that it actually works a lot smoother than this. I feel like this is maybe not the most accurate representation of how this works at all times. This is the first time I've had any real issue with it.
I think it is important to give a worst case scenario, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is the worst case scenario. So what it's not doing is braking erratically or randomly. When it does boot me out of Super Cruise, it keeps the adaptive cruise control on and keeps the speed I've set. So it's very predictable in the way that it behaves. So when it does screw up, you're not left holding the bag. It's also very obvious when it does disengage. The seat vibrates, as a lot of the GM products do when they give you safety warnings. And then this bar on the steering wheel goes from green to flashing red. So it's very obvious that something is wrong and you need to assume control. So I was able to just kick it back on again, and we'll try a lane change with this car next to us and see if it wants to do it. So now it'll look for an opening, it's waiting to get a little distance to this car behind us, and now it's going to change lanes. And then it just decelerated a hair to match the speed of this Toyota something in front of me. So that's how it works 80% of the time, and then you just spent about 2 minutes seeing the other 10%. So I think with that in mind, it's probably time to wrap this one up.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and conclude our review of the GMC 1500 Sierra Ultimate 6.2 liter
Denali
Ultimate. Sorry, too many names, too many things to remember. But this truck is very memorable in and of itself. It's very, very nice. I mean, at $87,000, that is an eye-watering price. But it has an eye-watering amount of features and functionality. I mean, I can't think of any modern functionality that it's missing.
No,
especially with Super Cruise. So, yeah.
Yeah, Super Cruise works great, as we talked about. Its biggest problem is the lane changes, like I mentioned. Other than that, it works 85 to 90% of the time flawlessly. You're able to kind of forget that it's on. My own personal feelings on whether or not it's okay to be able to kind of zone out while you're driving aside. I think it works very well. I think it competes nicely with Blue Cruise, which I've used very, very briefly. And I think that overall this is a pretty solid entrant to the segment. I don't feel that it does anything terribly inoffensive, and I do wish we had something a little bit more interesting to say about it. But it's ultimately a competent product, and a sign of that is the fact that we don't really have anything to complain about.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, thank you so very much for watching. We will see you next time, and please do remember to like and subscribe. It means that we get to keep doing this and driving $87,000 super luxury trucks. So thanks so much for watching. Bye.